What's up, y'all? John Melton coming to you live with another episode of Money Monday, where we help you go from average to savage in your business and help you create that freedom lifestyle, baby. Let's go. Anyway, I'm excited because I've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Wes Bewley on today. He's rocking that Gucci. I'm glad I didn't wear my Gucci because that would have been kind of funny, although maybe we should have. Maybe we should have talked about that beforehand. But I'm really excited because Wes is somebody that I've been in the same company with. We're not on the same team, but we've been in the same company now for about 5-6 years. And the dude is a total stud, wicked smart, wicked sharp, and he's built multiple businesses to 7 figures. He's helped other people do the same thing. So he's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to all things success. But guess what? All things failure. That's right. He failed his way to the tippity top. And he's also, I think, a funnel hacker. Is this right, Wes?
Yeah. In a previous life.
There we go. A funnel hacker also. For some of you, you're probably like, what the heck's a funnel hacker? If you don't know, don't worry about it. But you can see the award somewhere in the background there. So, Wes Bewley, what's up, brother? Excited to have you on Money Monday.
Yeah, brother. It's funny you mentioned the whole Gucci shirt because I went to my closet. I thought, which one would John not wear? Because we haven't actually a lot. You know, you and I have a lot of the same style. We like a lot of the same stuff, dude. So we're in many ways one and the same person. So I specifically chose the shirt that I had not seen you wear before. So
I love it. It looks good, man. I'm glad I saw that you're wearing it. So now if I go to buy it, I'll be like, oh, Wes has already got it.
Hey, dude, if you have a shirt that I like, I will buy it. I don't care, but I just might not wear it on the same Facebook Live as you,
You would hope.
Yeah.
But I love your mindset, bro. You always have one of the most powerful strategies or philosophies when it comes to building businesses. And for those of you that don't know Wes, you're going to hear his story today. I'm going to have him start off telling you a little bit about his story, his background. But the dude is such a powerful speaker. And not only that, he's one of my favorites to listen to because he does what Nadia and I like to do, which is entertain. So you're learning something, which is always good, but you're also going to experience some entertainment, some humor. And Wes is a very funny guy, but again, a lot of wisdom. He always shares things that are powerful and impactful. So take some notes, share the broadcast, tag your teammates. I think we're live in like 7 different places right now. And we will repurpose this as a podcast too. So cool. Really excited to have you on the show.
Yeah. It's good to be here.
If you can start sharing a little bit about your background, though, just so people can kind of hear what you've been through. I mean, again, today's topic of conversation is really the difference in people that are successful. And everybody has a different definition of success, but people that achieve success in business, in life, whatever that may mean to you, and people that are unsuccessful. So we'll start off with just a little bit about your story, your background, then we'll get into the goods.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, it's an interesting topic. I mean, we're going to be talking about really the two reasons why people become successful. And this is a interesting topic because it's an intangible. If we had a topic today that's like how Wes built a $10 million real estate empire from nothing, or how Wes built $100,000 a month passive income, we have 50,000 viewers. But whenever the topic is these two intangibles, it can kind of seem boring. However, what we're going to talk about is literally everything, man. And so, my background real quickly. So whenever I was 18, I was going to school at Texas Tech University, and back then the NCAA had a rule that you couldn't have a job, and I was a walk-on athlete, so I still needed money. And in the lines, I noticed that it didn't say anything about having a business. So whenever I was 18, I started a business in a direct sales company, and it was a sports nutrition company. Did real well with it, failed forward many times, but did pretty good. And in 2019, that company ended up kind of changing their business model, and I pivoted to Modere with you guys. And but previous to that, I had experienced a level of success at an early age. I grew that business from at the age of 18. By the time I was 19, I was making over 10K a month. And I always kind of joke and say I didn't quit school. That's when you sign papers and stuff. I just stopped going to school one day. And I never will forget when I quit school, it was like the scariest thing in the world, but I just knew I didn't want to work in an office all day, you know?
Right.
And I knew no matter what, I would always do something like network marketing because to me it was the fairest business model in the world. And I'd gotten invited to speak on stages and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, that particular company, we had a downturn, a very significant downturn. And I ended up, I had this Dodge Viper
Mm.
that was in my dad's name because the finance company wouldn't even let me be on the note. And all of a sudden, I can't pay that Dodge Viper payment. Um, all of a sudden, I have to voluntarily repossess that Dodge Viper. And this was in my dad's name. It was like the worst thing in the world.
Mm.
And, you see a father's love whenever you have to repossess a Dodge Viper that's going to destroy their credit. Um, but my dad was always like that, man. He was willing to do whatever for me if I believed in it to a degree.
Was he
But
also an entrepreneur?
no, I mean he was a business owner. He wasn't an entrepreneur. I mean, my dad was a third generation painter, and not like the Bob Ross kind, like the guy that would go into a house and paint it before the AC was installed. So that's what I grew up doing every summer. So then by the time I turned 18, I was looking for anything to get out of physical labor because construction was not my jam, brother. And so, back then I was just taught to work hard, show up early, stay late. And then whenever I was 18 in the summer, before college, I met a guy who had become a multimillionaire in network marketing, and he offered me a job at his ranch basically. And so I'm just in this guy's world.
Mm.
And I got to experience this guy's environment. Kind of like, if someone came over to your house, John, I've seen your house on social media, it's dope, right? If I showed up and worked at your house every day and you just shared one or two things, it would change me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of what happened with this guy is I would show up at his house. And I remember the first day I was there, he gave me this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he said, I'll give you $50 to read this book. And I went home at 18, read the book because a millionaire had given me this book. It meant something to me, and I came back to him the next day and said, forget the $50. I want you to show me how to get rich. And basically he, began mentoring me in that business. And it was just the craziest thing, that day, the first day on that job, I almost didn't show up because I couldn't find his house. And it's like a lot of people might not have shown up and just driven home or whatever. I mean, it's like everything that you do in life matters, but when you look backwards, it all makes total sense. So anyways, that, I'd gone through this period where, so, to kind of recap here, I started a business, become somewhat successful. Now it wasn't successful, but the problem is my identity was wrapped up in my success within that business. So my rank, the way people saw me, all those things, and it really rocked my world from a self-image standpoint. And I never will forget one day my mentor came to my house and I was just at my lowest of lows, man. I'd had an anxiety attack. My girlfriend had broken up with me. She thought I was going to be a failure forever. And, I was just at a dark place, and he came over and he pointed out the scripture in the ancient text that said, many are called, but few are chosen.
Mm.
And he's like, Wes, what you're going through is a test, and God will keep giving you that same test until you pass. And so, once I realized that everything was happening for me, nothing was happening to me, and everything was just this great test that all I had to do is just go pass. Now it became like, it kind of gamified life a little bit. And it seemed like almost overnight, it wasn't, but it seemed like almost overnight, my income just shot right back up and things were popping off. Only this time I'd learned the lesson. So I didn't go out and buy, Dodge Vipers and eat at PF Chang's 5 times a day and all those type of things. I did the right things with my money the second go around. And so, what I'd like to share with you guys today is really, things I've learned on, how did I build myself back up? And then, how do we continue to expand today? And it's really a philosophical question of, how do you make big leaps and bounds in your life at any age? If you think about Sam Walton, Sam Walton was 44 when he started Walmart. You've got 8-year-olds today making millions on YouTube. You know, you've actually got more money in circulation than you've ever had before. You've got more access to knowledge than you've ever had before. I mean, this Facebook Live, being able to talk to two guys that do pretty well, didn't exist, 20 years ago. And so
Even 10 years ago.
I didn't want to go back that far, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it even existed 10 years ago,
Right.
So
Crazy.
What's so cool about today is today's a lot like it was 24 years ago when I'd go to that guy's house and he'd share one or two things with me a day. And then I could hold on to it and really get the lesson. And then, come back the next day, here's another lesson. And, I think about a lot of times, like, why do most lottery winners go broke? Why do people play in the NFL and they're just, they end up with nothing after a few years after playing in the league? How do some, you've ever seen this before, but like some people seem like they get so close to succeeding or a healthy relationship, or even, an example of this is people that consistently choose bad partners. Why? We're going to talk about that, and then if you even think about the flip side of that, why do guys like Tony Robbins seem to just have this amazing personality and this magnetism to him? Same people would ask the same about you, John. I mean, how do you show up so consistently? I said at our last convention, you're probably one of the most consistent people on social media. How do you do it, right? And really, the first thing I want to share with you guys is it comes down to self-image. Yourself, none of us will ever outperform our self-image. The same is true the other way, though. You can perform to the level of your self-image. So I think about self-image a lot because I know it's my only barrier. For you and I, or anyone else watching, to get to our next level, our self-image is first going to be increased, And so the first thing I want to share is really just that your self-image dictates everything. And some things that I've done to improve self-image. One is, I started taking note of limiting beliefs. So when someone says, here's just an example. I know your audience is largely, I know you have a large network marketing audience. Obviously, you have a lot of crossover in other industries as well. But a network marketing conversation or limiting self-image might be, I'm not good at team building. I'm not good at customer getting. I'm not good at, whatever people say they're not good at. And you want to really take note of that self-dialogue because that's dictating your self-image. And then what I would start to do is take note of those limiting thoughts. Anytime you tell yourself you can't do something, and then I would create a note card that basically has the opposite. So like if I say I'm not good at team building, I might create a note card that says, I am world-class at building teams. I am world-class at getting people started in the business. I am a magnet everywhere that I go. Everywhere I go, people want to get to know who I am or something like that. These are just your own private cards. So it doesn't matter if they're, seem cheesy or whatever, because what you're doing is you're rebuilding your self-image and your self-dialogue. So the first key to kind of, I would call it like supernatural success or being able to control success and limit failure is self-image. So do you have any thoughts on that, John? Do you find if I was able to go inside your mind, what would you say your self-image overall is?
Yeah, I mean, it's crucial, having energy, passion, excitement for what you're doing and believing that like you're worthy of success. So much of that in the personal development growth phase that we go through is what makes the biggest difference. And I know in those early days, it is hard because how many of us can relate to the conversation Wes is having right now, where in those early days, it's really hard to have a great self-image because the results aren't there, right? People will always say, oh, it must be so easy to recruit for you guys because you're so successful and you're making all this money. But it's like, yeah, but we had to get to this point. And what's funny, like Wes, I got started around 2001, experienced a lot of failure, embarrassment, had businesses go out of business. I remember owing a lot of money to the IRS. That was a lovely experience because I didn't pay taxes. One year I took all the money I made and invested it in real estate, and I bought high and I sold low, ruined my credit. Lovely experience. But at the end of the day, all of that made me appreciate success later on. It gave me perspective. Like you said, the lessons that you learn along the way. So later on, you have a better self-image. You have this confidence and this posture in what you're doing because you know what you had to do, the price you had to pay to get here. I think where it is tough is for these young bucks that have success when they're younger, and they almost have that like imposter syndrome because they know that maybe they did get a little lucky. Where when you talk to someone like Wes, you talk to me, like we had to work our faces off and make massive sacrifice. And like I said in the beginning, fail our way to the tippity top of our businesses. So we do have a different self-image because of that, but not, if you would have talked to us 20 years ago, that would not have been the case. At least not for me. I'm assuming Wes, same with you. Like I really struggled with that inner voice. Like my stinking thinking was ridiculous. Like I would not do public speaking. Like you couldn't do, they tried to bribe me, threaten me, not like threaten, but like they would do everything they could just to get me to do a testimonial. And I was like, nope, if you say my name, I'm walking out of the meeting. Like, don't try to trick me. Like if you say, hey, John, can you come up here and share your story? I'm gonna be like, John, who? And walk out the door. Like I literally was so against it. So again, there was a self-worth issue. I didn't feel worthy. I felt that I had nothing of value to share. And that's the problem with a lot of you. A lot of you struggle with doing videos, sharing your story, reaching out to your chicken list, doing a lot of the things that it takes to be successful because of those limiting beliefs. So yeah, I think that is just such an important piece to success, but it is easier to say when you get on the other side of it. But I'm telling you, every single one of you deserves success. You're worthy of success. You just haven't gone through the ish. You haven't gone through the tough stuff yet or long enough. And I think that really is why the personal development is such a big piece, and having mentorship, right? You mentioned that in the beginning too. And I think that's such an important piece, that you had mentorship very early on. And some of us, we have mentors in our lives, or we could have a mentor in our life, but we're not willing to ask them the questions or listen to their answers.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I always say that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions, you know? So, that's powerful stuff, man. I'm curious too, like, um, just in a recent example, just talking about self-image is also visuals.
Mm,
So, this is one reason why someone who's broke goes out and buys a Gucci shirt, right? Is
yeah.
because it's really a powerful step. I'm not saying go out and buy a Gucci shirt if you can't afford it or going to put on a credit card, but it's actually what that person's trying to do when they do that and they can't really afford it is they're trying to take something that they can control about their environment, right? So they're saying, okay, I would love to go from an apartment to a nice house, or a Toyota Camry to a Benz, can't really afford to do those two things yet. But what I could do is dress today like I will once I have the income for that. And so then they go out and buy a Gucci shirt, So again, I'm not saying like go buy those things, but when I see people do that, they're trying to do what we're going to talk about, or what we've started to talk about of really, we're talking a lot about self-image, but it's also visually what you see. One of the examples I wanted to show you guys, this right here, if you guys can see this, this is prop money. Okay. This is not real. And, man, I tell you, like, gosh, 10 years ago, even though I was making good money, I had a really hard time, saving money.
Yeah.
It seemed like my account would get to about $20,000, and then I'd find some reason why I needed to spend money. It's like, dude, Post Malone concert, like, gotta go. He's coming to Austin. I'd figure out some type of reason, and I never could get above 20,000. And really what it was is I didn't possess the capacity to maintain more than $20,000 in my savings account. And so first off, I became aware that I had an issue with this, right? And so then I've realized, the problem is I can't see my savings account. You know, that's one of the biggest problems. We live in this digital world. Back in the day, we'd have gold and loot and stuff. You know, we'd count the king's treasure every day, right? Well, we don't do that anymore because it's digital. And so I was like, I know that to change my results, I have to change the visuals that I see, because your life will move towards the most dominant images in your mind. So that's one of the reasons why I tell people this little thing back here on the wall. This is a living vision wall. And so these are some of my current goals. And and the reason why I put that up there is I know what I consistently look at, my life will move towards that direction, right? Well, on the topic of money, I couldn't save money. So I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to order 2 of these stacks. This is a $10,000 stack. I'm going to order 2 of these to reflect my savings account. And I'm going to order 3 more that I can pull out as soon as I have that money in my savings account. So then, you know, pretty soon I had $50,000 and I had a visual of it. And I just keep it right here on my desk. And this particular prop money looks, I mean, does this not look real, dude? Come on.
It does. Yeah.
Dude, it's really important that the visuals that you use are extremely real, because my subconscious, you know, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is prop money. But once I put it down and it's just in my periph, my subconscious thinks it's real. So now I'm surrounded by money all day, right? I kept doing this, and it was funny because one day my wife came home and I had like these stacks sitting on the kitchen table, and she's like, bro, do you need to tell me something? And I'm like, it's prop money. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's not real. It's just a visual. And she's like, wait, you spent real money to buy fake money? And I'm like, just hang with me. Okay. So anyways, I set this goal of, could I save up $1 million in cash? I mean, to go from a guy who can barely save 20, could I save up $1 million? And I mean, check this out, dude. I don't know if you guys can see this. That right over there is $1 million in prop money. I don't know if you guys can see it over there. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, now we can see it.
Okay. That right there is $1 million in prop money. I finally just had to stop, you know, ordering prop money, because maids would come over to our house and they'd be like, dude, these guys sell drugs. And I'm like, yo, it's not real. It's not real. But it just goes.
They're like dusting it off.
What's that?
They're like dusting it off.
Oh, they're just like walking by my office, just eyeing it. The power of visual is so incredible. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. The things that you can do when you're not there to start to kind of change your environment. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, people talk a lot about manifesting and stuff. I mean, here's the thing, John, is this is going to get into our second topic, which is permission. Because I could tell you about this and we could talk about your self-image, but then simultaneously, do you give yourself permission to have it all? Because where I grew up out in West Texas, and tell me if you're the same, I was taught that money was the root of all evil, that it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for the camel to walk through the eye of a needle. I mean, that sounds pretty dang impossible. And I was taught basically money was bad. And, you know, if you had a lot of money, you were a jerk. If you had a lot of money, you know, you had to have done something wrong or got over on somebody. So you can.
Well, also, can we point out that, like, in our society, like our culture, you know, a lot of these movies, it's like, you know, the bad guys are always like really rich and they're greedy and they're just like taking advantage of people. Or, you know, they always hear in the real world, you know, tax the rich, you know, the billionaires don't pay enough. And it's like, first of all, and I'm not going to get into a political thing, but I know you and I are very much aligned in our beliefs.
We'd love to.
Like,
we'd love to.
A lot of the billionaires are the reason that a lot of people have jobs in the first place. You know, it's like, so what? The money that they're making is better off in the hands of the government? I don't think so. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it is interesting how growing up, you know, I used to always have my parents, they would say, you know, another day, another dollar. My dad would say that, and my dad was in construction also, right? Another day, another dollar. Money doesn't grow on trees. And you hear these things. And, you know, of course, going to school, what does everyone taught to go to school? It's go to school, get, you know, pay for college, which I always thought that was mind boggling. I'm like, why would I want to? I hate school. Why would I pay to go to school to get a piece of paper that says I'm smart, hire me? But that's what we were all, you were basically taught that if you didn't go to college, you were going to be a loser. And then when I got into the mortgage industry and I'm pulling credit reports and I'm taking these loan applications, and the guy will tell me, "Oh, I made 400,000 last year." I'm like, "Oh, doing what?" He's like, "Oh, I've been a truck driver. He owns a bunch of trucks, a trucking company." And you're like, "Wait, dude, wait, what? You make 400,000?" Now, I'm not saying that to him, but in my mind, I'm like, what? Now, I'm not saying that we should all be truck drivers. I'm not saying everybody should be a business owner or an entrepreneur, but the fact that it's not even suggested, it's not even like a recommendation, like, hey,
Yeah.
by the way, there's not just this one way to make a lot of money by working. You said it earlier, going to an office. And like, I used to dread that. I'm like, first of all, I don't like waking up early. So you're telling me I'm gonna have to wake up early the rest of my life to go to a job, work in a cubicle. This is what I thought, and work for somebody else and like exchanging time for dollars. That sounds a lot like it sucks. So when I saw network marketing, I was like, hook, line, and sinker, bro. Take my money. Like, I was a total red apple. There was no skepticism, but
Yeah.
it really is interesting how big of an impact that mentorship or that self-image conversation matters. But I'm excited to hear you talk about the permission piece, because how many of us are holding ourselves back because of the fear of what other people think, because of the fear of failure, or you just don't think that your story is interesting enough or you have anything of value to share.
Yeah. 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 It's you, what happened for me, I mean, everyone's different, but there's got to be something that comes along in your life, whether it's your self image or some other aspect where you eventually give yourself permission. If we talk about self image, I'm personally a believer. And so the ancient text says that, the creator of the universe created you and I in his image. Okay. And so if you think about, if the creator of the universe created, then it would just make sense that you and I would have that same power
Mm.
if we're created in his image, right? And so then you have to look
Meaning you can create your reality.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you think about this, brother, the creator of the universe spoke. There was nothingness and there was a black void, and he spoke and said, "Let there be light." And then he said, "Let there be this, let there be that." And every so he did he need to tell us that? No, he was modeling for you and I what we would do if we wanted to create. We would first have to speak it, right? And so I could go way deeper on that. I won't today, but it's so powerful. And so then it's like, okay, well, then we have to look at motive. Why do I want to be wealthy? Why do I want to be successful? Why do I want to be a top income earner? Just give you an example of a top income earner. Um, your self image, like even like you guys don't know this, but like John, would you guys say John's confident? John's super confident, right? Was he always like that? He says he wasn't. I didn't know him back then, But if you see him today, he's extremely confident. I'll tell you this. You guys see John all the time, right? But do you know where his confidence comes from? His confidence comes from who he is when no one's watching. What he does when no one else will know. What he puts into his mind, the preparation he does, everything he does when no one else is watching is what gives him confidence when he's now in front of you. And so, you know, let's just talk on the terms of like becoming a top income earner. Here's a core belief that I have that I want you guys to have about yourselves. I believe if someone does business with me, that their life will get better. They'll be more positive. They'll have more self confidence. If they're married, their marriage will get better. If they have a bank account, their bank account will get bigger. I believe that someone's life will improve if they do business with me. I believe that I'll if they're in business with me or in a relationship with me, that they'll be more connected to God than they are now. I believe that everything about their life will blossom. Their health will blossom, their fitness will blossom, all those type of things. And so if I believe that, then of course I want to build a huge team. Of course I want to become a top income producer or a top producer in my company, because look at the impact I would be able to have on that many people, right?
Yeah.
So those type of thoughts are really important. And then yeah, this is just a quick story, but you guys ever heard of John? Have you ever heard of A21?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I won't tell you what it's called because I don't want to say the word. And then all of a sudden you're like blocked on Facebook for 3 years. But you just go look up A21. They fight a specific type of trafficking that happens throughout the world.
Got it.
And I don't want to say the other word, but I went to this dinner one time, and they were raising money for it, and it was a real nice dinner, real beautiful, and they were about to send a team of Navy SEALs into India. And they go, okay, we need $50,000 for India. Who wants to take it? And there was this really rich guy, and he's like, I'll take it. And they're like, oh, thank you so much, Mr. Rich Guy. And I'm like, whoa, $50,000 just with a raise of a hand. Like, man, that's big time. He goes, okay, we're going to send another team into Europe. This one's going to cost $250,000. Who wants to take it? And everybody's looking around, and the rich guy's kind of looking around, like giving other people an opportunity, and no one's raising their hand. And finally, he's like, okay, I'll take Europe too. He goes, okay, and we're going to also go into Bangladesh, and we need 75,000 for Bangladesh. And everybody's looking around, and the rich guy's like, okay, I'll take Bangladesh too. And I'm sitting there at this dinner, John. I'm like, brother, I've got to make more money. Money is only makes you more of who you are, right? So if you're a good person that does good things, you're a righteous person who has righteous intentions, then if you have a lot of money, brother, you'll do so many powerful things, right? Money is only a reflection of the person who holds it. Money in and of itself has no energy. It's just paper. It used to be a tree somewhere. It has no energy or power except for the power that you give it, right? And so I just decided, there's not a limit to money. A lot of times we don't want to have too much money because we're like, well, then there wouldn't be enough for other people. Listen, there's plenty. In fact, our Federal Reserve prints it. You know what I mean? So there's actually more money in circulation than there's ever been.
Yeah.
So it can't be because you think someone else is going to lose, right? The reality is, even too, when you're an entrepreneur, this is a big thing. When you're an entrepreneur, you create economy.
Mm-hmm.
If I sell a product or something like that, I am creating economy, digital product or physical product or whatever. Whereas it's not like I'm a football coach getting paid $3 million a year. That's not really creating an economy, although it does help to sell seats and stuff like that. But when you're an entrepreneur, every time you get a customer, every time you enroll a new teammate, you're literally creating economy. You have the power of creation when you're an entrepreneur. So anyways, permission is everything. If you think about just the topic of that, it has nothing to do with time. So a lot of times we'll go, well, if it took me this long to get to this level in my company, then it's going to take me that long to get to whatever this level is. No, money and success have no relationship with time. Success has no relationship with difficulty. And the thing is like one of the things we'll do sometimes is we'll go, okay, it's really hard. It's really hard to make 10,000 a month. And so if I want to make 20, I'm going to have to work twice as hard. Not correct. It's actually easier to make $1 million a year than it is to make 100,000. It's easier to make 100,000 than it is to make 10,000. Money has no relationship with difficulty. And lastly, money has no relationship with talent. Whenever I used to live in Nashville, and I'd go downtown Nashville, and John, there'd be guys that would be like juggling 5 balls, saying the alphabet backwards, playing a guitar with their toe. But when they were done at night, they'd go sleep on a park bench. They had all the talent in the world, but unfortunately, success and money have nothing to do with talent. And that's why you can see, I grew up listening to Tupac and Biggie. Now you get on, you turn on rap, and I can barely understand these guys, what they're saying, right? They're just mumbling stuff, mumble rap. But yet they make millions. It's all permission based, So I was dumb enough to believe that I could create the life that I wanted, and then I could have it all, and I could help other people do the same. And so far, that belief has worked out, you know? So do you have any final takeaways on that?
That's one of my favorite lines. I was just dumb enough to do it, dumb enough to say yes. Like, I don't know, it seems like a good idea to me. I'm gonna give it a shot. But it is true because, man, it's not that we don't work hard, but compared to the way we used to work, I'm assuming you did the old school, right? The home meetings, belly to belly, knee to knee, eye to eye, countless three-way calls.
Yeah.
Like, I worked way harder when I made way less. And even when I was a mortgage banker, like I will say I made pretty good money considering I was a community college dropout. I'm in my, early to mid 20s making a couple 100,000 a year. But dude, I was on the phone 12 hours a day, 100 calls a week, 100 calls a day, 500 calls a week, like working my face off. And guys, by the way, even before that, when I was waiting tables or when I was a busboy at 16 years old, to me, that was harder than what I do right now. Like, I worked at Cantler's, so I live in Maryland, right? So we're kind of a big deal when it comes to crabs, right? I worked at the #1 crab restaurant in Maryland as a busboy. And you can only imagine how disgusting that job was, having to clean off tables and all the crab shells. And then you got the trash bag, right? You're carrying the trash bag down to the dumpster, and the the sharp crab shells, the claws, whatever, sticking out of the plastic bag, scratching up your legs. I mean, that was hard. So just because something is hard doesn't mean you can make a lot of money doing it. And just because something is easier doesn't necessarily mean you can't make a lot of money. It's all a matter of having those systems in place, having, like we talked about many times, that mentorship. And I think so many of us, we do have these limiting beliefs that prevent us from the life we deserve or the life we desire. Maybe we don't deserve it yet, but I think everybody's worthy of success. It's just, having the vehicle, having the determination, and I think so much of this, what Wes is talking about, it all stems back to that personal development. I mean, I am not the person I was 20 years ago when I first got started, because back then I didn't have any exposure to mentorship or personal development. I'd never heard of Rich Dad Poor Dad or Robert Kiyosaki or Think and Grow Rich or, any of these successful people. Like, I didn't even know that was within reach. I didn't even know it was realistic. And, I also wanted to mention something too, when you were talking about the self-image, listen, you don't want to be stupid with the money you make. You don't want to just go out there and buy stuff you can't afford to impress people you don't know, wearing things that whether it's a Rolex watch or a Gucci shirt, right? We're talking about that. Going out buying a Dodge Viper, like, sure, it doesn't make sense. But I will say this. Like, how many of us work out? How many of us smash the hard button if you lift weights, right? When you first start lifting weights, it sucks. It really sucks. Why? Because you get super sore. You don't know what you're doing. You feel embarrassed at the gym because you feel like everyone's looking at you. It's like they all know you don't know what you're doing, which, by the way, that's not really true. Nobody really cares. Maybe a tiny percentage of people are like, look at this guy. Nobody actually cares. But in your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. I'm like, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so sore. The point is, 90 days, 6 months, 12 months, you start feeling like a little bit confident. You start looking at those newbies like, oh man, he has no idea what he's doing, right? 5 years in, 10 years in, you built up a habit where now, like, if I don't do a video, if I don't lift weights, I already lifted weights today, Sunday, I lifted weights. Like, I lift weights very often. Now, you might not be able to tell, I'm a small guy, got a small frame, but still, compared to where I was, trust me, major improvements. The point is, same thing in business. Like, you will amaze yourself after a period of time once you build up those disciplines, those habits, and you'll look back and be like, wow, look what I accomplished. So the reason I wanted to point that out is, it is kind of interesting. When I first bought some dress shirts, when I first bought some suits, now back then I wasn't even familiar with Gucci, Louis Vuitton. By the way, that stuff was so out of my price range. I was buying the cheapo suits. You know what I'm saying? Like, a $50 suit was like a big investment. I think I bought 3 like $50 suits. That was like a big deal 20 years ago. But the point is, I did feel better about myself. When I started taking care of myself, right? I invested in myself, not just in my knowledge, but like in my wardrobe and, in like nice shoes. Like, you do start to carry yourself differently when you start to wear nicer things and you look like you have a clue what you're doing. Again, I'm not saying to go out there and fake it till you make it. I like faith it till you make it, or face it till you make it. But there is something to be said about investing in yourself, your wardrobe. Maybe how about some of them ladies, right? Getting your nails did, getting your hair did, right? I mean, there is something to be said about if you look good and you feel good, you're going to do good. And it's the same thing when it comes to what you eat every day. It's same thing when it comes to what you're listening to every day. Same thing when it comes to like exercising every day, like all these little things. I did a post about this last week, right? People making different choices every day, like eat the candy bar or the apple, right? Watch Netflix and chill, or listen to some Brendan Burchard or Tony Robbins, like all these little choices every day. It's that compound effect. In the beginning, it's not going to make a big difference, but over time, you're going to go in one of two directions. And these little decisions on the daily are going to make the biggest difference. And that's why you see the end result with Wes, right? He's got all these 7-figure businesses, all these different investments, passive income, all this huge following, like all this knowledge. That didn't happen in 3 years, 5 years. That happened after him consistently doing the things he's been doing for a long time. And now he can show up and he can talk one-on-one like this online, or he can get on stage in front of 20,000 people and close out a convention, because he's done the behind the scenes work, the internal work, right? The work when no one's looking. So that would just be my final thought on this. I just love these conversations. It's like you said in the beginning, right? If we said, hey, come hear how this guy created $100,000 a month passive income, or how he's done this, we would have 10 times more people on. But when it's like, hey, let's talk philosophy and mindset, people are like, oh gosh, okay. But then the funny thing is they pay attention, the ones that are listening, the ones that are taking notes, and they're like, damn, I needed to hear this.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, that's my rant. I'm done. Wes, anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, that's good. I mean, it's, the last thing would just be, obviously just desire is the beginning of this whole discussion. And we live in a culture now where the culture says it's bad to desire. It's bad to want to do good. It's bad to want to have nice things. That is a lie.
Yeah.
So desire is the beginning of all achievement, right? After you have the desire, number one, if you have the desire, like pat yourself on the back, there's a pandemic of no desire, which makes it even easier as time goes on. If you look at the times scan or the span of time, because desire is the enemy. For those that do have the desire, it just gets easier and easier. So might as well just be the one that has the desire and give yourself permission to dream big dreams, have big thoughts, want to do big things. It's okay. I believe that you were designed to do incredible things. I believe that you're here for a purpose. I believe that the reason why you are here on earth is to do something big. And you get to decide what that is. That's the cool thing. You are in a video game. I'm in a video game.
Yep.
The world revolves around me, but the world also revolves around you.
Right.
Your player can wear whatever they want to wear. To John's point, I love Deion Sanders. He says, if you dress good, you look good. If you look good, you perform good. If you perform good, you get paid good, baby. I mean, that's a case. That's a case for it.
Yeah.
And then just once you have the desire, once you make the decision to go to the top or do whatever you want to go do, now you just got to let a little bit of time go by and give yourself permission to go get everything you dream of and more. So thanks so much for having me on, John. I have a lot of respect for you guys, or a lot of respect for you. And you guys don't know this, but John and I, over the years in the same company, we've kind of had cross paths of this person or that person or whatever. And the thing I appreciate about John is one of the rare people that can see both viewpoints. And he's one of the best humans that I know. I have a tremendous amount of respect for John and Nadia. So John, it's an honor to be on with you today, brother.
Absolutely, bro. I could talk to you all day, man. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks, dude. Happy Money Monday, everyone. Make sure you go follow Wes also. He always puts out a lot of content. His stories are always a trip, and just a guy that wants what's best for you. So it makes sense to follow him, to learn from him, model him. And if you got value from this, definitely smash that heart button. If you really loved it, smash the share button. All right, y'all. Wes, later, bro.
See you guys.
See you guys.